All right, so those of you who were around back in the 1980s, how many of you guys remember thumbing through the TV guide, finding your favorite show was brand new tonight? You sit down, turn it on, and it's brand new, but it's a clip show. Who was disappointed when you turned on your favorite show and it was a clip show? For those of you who aren't familiar with what a clip show is, a lot of the shows back then, usually at least once during the run, sometimes more than once during the run, they would save money and have a clip show. They would just show clips from previous episodes. And I know I was always disappointed whenever there was a clip show. Fortunately, Knight Rider never had a clip show. So, all that to be said, let's do a trailer clip show. I know, I'm sorry, but there's so many videos on the trailer, and I thought this might be a good opportunity because we're at a good place with the trailer where maybe we should review some of the really cool finds that we've had with the trailer since it arrived here 6 months ago. That's all it's been, 6 months, maybe 7 months. 6 or 7 months, that's it. It's crazy. But there's been so many finds and revelations, so much teardown that I thought, well, why don't we review all that? And, you know, to make it a little bit more interesting, so it's not just all content that you may have seen before, we're gonna pepper in some new clips to this whole thing, stuff that never made it to air the first time around, and some other new content, and we'll probably talk a little bit about what's next for the trailer. So hopefully you'll stick around and enjoy this Knight Rider screen use semi-trailer clip show. All right, so before we get into kind of our review of the trailer, to include a bunch of new footage you guys have never seen before, I wanted to take a moment once again to add some names to our semi-trailer donation wall. So for those of you who aren't familiar, we've been doing this for a few months now. For a $100 donation, you can have your name permanently put on a plaque in the semi-trailer, like for all of time. This is a poor attempt at, you know, just kind of scribbling names down. We're gonna transfer all of this onto a really nice official looking plaque one day. So, that being said, we have a handful of new names to go over and put on the wall. And I'll do a zoom in, so I'm not gonna read them all, but I'll do a zoom in so you can see the names. If you contributed and your name is misspelled, let us know. If you contributed and you don't see your name, let us know as well. If you are interested in donating to the semi-trailers restoration and getting your name on the wall, all you have to do is PayPal us at nightridersemi@gmail.com. That's nightridersemi, all one word, @gmail.com. If you have any questions or if you need an alternate way to pay, you can also email us at that same address and we'll get you hooked up. So with that being said, I've got my handy dandy tape. This is very professional, as you can see. So we will just go ahead and just do a nice little tapey tape job here. Just like that. Isn't that impressive? So let me bring you in, show you the additional names, and then we'll move on to our Patreon flag agents, which we got some exciting questions there as well. So let's bring you in first, take a look at this. All right, so here are this video's new names. Take a look. If your name's on there and misspelled, let us know. If your name is not on there, let us know. All right, and then there's kind of a review of all the names. There's hundreds of names at this point. You guys are simply awesome. We could not do this without you. Okay, so here we are. Say hi, Eric. Many of you guys know Eric Wang.
Check out my hat.
Oh, lights hat. What does that mean? Why are you wearing a Dorsey hat, Eric?
I don't know, I just happen to.
So where are we at? We're just driving. This doesn't look like home.
No.
This looks like
Kind of the middle of nowhere.
kind of Arizona, doesn't it? Why are we in Arizona, Eric?
We are hunting for treasure.
Hello, horse.
Some shrubbery, some trees, some solar panels.
This guy probably. Keep going. There it is, way back. That's it.
So, I'll try to describe to you because I don't think I can get a good picture and the light doesn't even seem to help that much. It looks like, so there's the square, there's like a main beam that goes down the center, and then it's like kind of hollowish looking on each side.
Well, that makes sense, right? We expected it to be hollow. Where the deals came out. Yeah. Yeah. But just so you can not try to hold light and film.
your car recently? Or?
No. That's one of those things like you don't know, but like you do something like, oh yeah, that's really. That's another thing. I always want to get into the like.
Yeah, I just brought it over.
Very true, man.
All right.
So I am standing right in front of the one and only original screen used Night Rider trailer. It has just been hooked up to the tractor for its long haul back out east to be reunited with the original third and fourth season semi-tractor. It's been a wild ride so far, and there's more to come.
The screen used Dorsey trailer about to be reunited with the tractor. There you go. Tractor and trailer. Oh boy. Look at that. Nice. All right, so now let's go over our latest Patreon flag agents. If you're not familiar, we have a Patreon community where you can show your support to us, and in exchange, we send you get behind the scenes photos and videos, early access to all of our videos, lots of really cool stuff. There are 4 different tiers of support within our Patreon community. And our top tier are our flag agents. And as a flag agent, we give you a shout out in a video when you join, and then anytime you have questions about Night Rider, as long as you're a flag agent, you send us a message, we answer them on the air. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, whether it be a flag agent or one of our other tiers, go ahead and click on the link in the description below. There's also one in the corner of this video as well. All right, so this week we've got 6 additional Patreon flag agents. So first is Tony Stanko. Tony, we've known Tony for many, many years. He was one of our lower tier supporters. Now he's bumped it up to flag agent. So Tony, thank you so much. I always enjoy chatting with you. We have Bobby Barres. Bobby, thanks for showing your support and becoming a Patreon flag agent. We have Tobias Bush. Tobias, thank you. We're glad you're here. We have Mike, no last name. He was an increase as well. He was a lower level supporter. But Mike, we'll just pretend your last name's Knight. I like that. Another increased supporter is Stephen McCracken. So Stephen, thank you so much. We're glad you're here. And finally, we have a brand new Patreon flag agent, Steve Wills. So Steve, thank you so much for joining. You guys, along with our donation wall, all you guys are what makes all of this possible. We literally could not restore this trailer without your support. Just couldn't. It's ridiculous. All right. So here are our flag agent questions for this week. So from Tony Stanko. I do have a question concerning the documentation of the semi-truck and trailer. Have you guys found any original title or license plates dating back to Universal ownership for the GMC General or the Dorsey trailer somewhere? Or were they given back to the DMV when they moved to another state? And so is it possible re-registering the mobile unit with its California plates one day? What a fantastic question, Tony. So to answer this, no, we have not found any original title or license plates to Universal Studios because these pieces were never owned by the studio. So they never had a title in Universal's name. Both the tractor and, the tractor was a product placement unit, and I don't believe it would have ever been in Universal's name in terms of a title. The trailer was never owned by the studio. It was rented to the studio by an outfit called JT McKinney. And some of you guys have heard of JT McKinney. They're still around today, albeit in a much different form, but they supplied tractor trailers to a lot of shows back in the day, and this trailer was on long-term loan to Universal. So Universal never would have had any ownership over this trailer. And is it possible re-registering the mobile unit with its California plates one day? Maybe, but we don't have any plans of registering any of this in California, because none of us are in California. This group that, you know, that we're all restoring this, we don't live in California. And we're going to have vanity plates made, you know, replica plates of the originals. And it would be great if we could find the original plates, but I highly doubt it. But we'll have replica ones put on there for shows, but I don't see this ever being registered in California again. And honestly, with California's strict laws, this might not even pass. You know, they might not even be able to register in California anymore. I don't know. All right, Mike, do you know where the truck or trucks used for Goliath are? No. We did a video a long time ago on Goliath. We got some people that messaged us saying they knew where it was. Nothing ever really came of it. So we have yet to find Goliath. If we do, you can bet that at some point we'll let you know. Obviously, we gotta keep things on the down low, kind of like we did with this trailer. You know, we found the trailer and it was, what, 6 months before you guys knew about it. But I promise you, we have not found Goliath and we're not sitting on Goliath yet. All right, also Mike, in 1985 there was a series called Amazing Stories, and one of the episodes featured a cameo by KITT. Was that car from Knight Rider? If so, do you know which car it was? Yes, that was definitely a screen-used Knight Rider car. Boy, I'd have to go back and look at the stills. You don't really get a good look at it. You see the front of it a little bit, but it's covered in debris because it crashes through that living room wall. But I don't think it's the hardtop stunt car. I think it might be the general purpose T-top stunt car that I talk about in my episode commentaries that was around starting in season 3 through the rest of the series. That, to me, just looking at what I can see from that clip, that would be the car it is. But it's definitely an original car. All right, David Lyons. The producers were always finding ways to keep KITT fresh and doing new things to keep viewers hooked. Once Super Pursuit Mode was introduced, it seemed to be the primary tool that got the most use in season 4. Based on your research and knowledge, what do you think would have been most likely new feature for KITT had there been a 5th season? Oh, that's a great question. They probably would have done something stupid like making them fly, or, you know, KITT was just within the bounds of reality, or just outside the bounds of reality, that you could see that it could exist one day. But I don't know. I've never heard of anything, but if just reading this question and first thing off my mind thinks, well, they probably try to make the car fly. All right, Steve Gregoroff. In early season 1, No Big Thing, KITT's monitors have horizontal interference lines from filming on set. Future episodes, they're clean. Did the studio superimpose the images on the dash, or were they real insert dash videos? They were superimposed for the majority of the time. Yeah, there were a few scenes early on where they weren't, but the majority of the time KITT's monitors were superimposed. The other exception is in season 3 in Night in Disgrace, where you see that nice shot kind of panning in. You see the dash, Michael's talking to Devin. That was actually on the TV in the car, but for the most part, they were all superimposed. All right, guys, that is all we've got this week. Again, if you're interested in joining our Patreon community, there's a link down below. All kinds of goodies on there that you won't find anywhere else on the net. All right, enough of all that. Time to move on.
So you see that gray stuff there and you think, what is that? Is that dirt? Is that dust? And no, it's years of Arizonian mouse poop. This is what the French call disgusting. And somehow, I'm the lucky one that's going to be cleaning this out. Well, one nice little nugget that we found in our favor, it appears to be a spare rim and a spare tire. Although, that probably means that the rubber's super hard because it's like 43, 44 years old, but still cool. So, we just discovered a mummified Arizonian mouse that was probably taking up residence in the spare tire and amongst all the cacti and its own mouse poop.
Pretty disgusting.
All right, I am so mentally done with mouse duty, so took a break and climbed up here on the roof of the trailer. So this is what it looks like. Last time I was up here, it was in Arizona in 95 degrees. I had no knee pads, no gloves, and no common sense. So that's what some minor burns will teach you. These are the original air vents that have been sealed up. Measured them, they're about 16 by 16. So not quite as big as I remember them, but big enough that I know I could get through them. Obviously Hasselhoff was able to get through them. And you can kind of see there's little like bars every so often. And I'm basically trying to step on those because that's where it's more sturdy. Because while I don't think I'm going to fall through the roof panels here, they don't seem to be the thickest. You feel the flex and the give and you hear it. So safety first, right? It's like a little hopscotch. Step, step, hop, step, hop. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Ow, I feel cactus in my shoes. All right, here's the back of the trailer. Scram. And there's the front. So looks like those two vents were most likely added later. I guess it's had to do, whether they're holes or vents, had to do with maybe installing the race deck, or possibly even lounge related up top. And there's Joe. Say hi, Joe. There's Joe. What a nice guy. And yeah, so you can kind of see the lines of the different sections. Bar there, bar there, bar there. They go all throughout the trailer. And here's a close-up of the little twisty tie snaps, which seemed to be a big thing back then. So you ever see on the auto-form Trans Am convertibles, those are the exact same type of snaps that they put on the back of the roof. So this is the top of the rear of the trailer. Looks like there was some sort of seam that went across that was sealed up with the same kind of rubbery type of, I don't know, silicone material that was used to seal up the air vents up front.
So I'm up here filming along the top edge of the trailer, and take a look at this. There's evidence of black here. And look at this. I'm in the process of removing, these are brackets, canopy brackets that they added. They had a big canopy that they would install over here, but take a look at this. When I remove this bracket, look, it's black underneath. More evidence of its past life. So not all the black was blasted off, but the panels, it was all blasted off, unfortunately. So the first thing we're going to start with are right here. Do you see those bolts? You got a series of 4, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 2 more right there. Those bolts can be seen on the trailer in the show. That held in the winch apparatus for the ramp right there. All right, so we've got that. Moving down right here. At the very top, you see those 3 bolts right along the top right there. Again, part of the winch, and we think it was a hydraulic ram that opened and closed the ramp, but that's part of that apparatus as well. Okay, so moving on, we've got these bolts, right? We've got one right here, and then 2 more up there. One right there, one right there. Again, you can match those to the show.
There was also some,
Right.
Another thing I want to point out that Joe noticed yesterday. I don't know if you can get the angle right here, Joe, but just to the left of those unique bolts, you see that like straight line. It looks almost like a crease.
Right there. There's a crease.
Across those 2
You
panels.
see that?
So those you could see in episode screenshots, even when it was back in black, like, you know, what, 36 years ago. So those creases are still there today. Things that are, obviously, that's not, I don't think that's an intended factory
Well, no, that was done probably a stunt on the show. They ran into something and it caused a crease right there, and it has never been fixed.
Yeah.
So additionally, there's the bolts on this side, right?
Yep.
So we've got those. A couple of the bolts, well, on this side, just one is missing. It was filled in with silicone, but for the most part, all the bolts are there. And of course we have, right, the belly boxes. Now, not this part was added later. Right there, these are the original belly boxes for the show. Now, they, the latches have been changed out, but if you watch the show, the original handles were right here in the middle, and take a look.
You can see there's still the original.
There's the original holes
there,
right there.
and the center mounted handles.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, you open it up.
Yep, there's the belly boxes full of cacti from Arizona.
And some rodent poo.
And rodent poo.
Not
yeah.
as much as there was before.
Right.
You should have seen that passenger side. Oh, it was horrible.
Again, matching from the other side. Bolt, bolt, bolt. None of that is factory Dorsey. It was all done by Universal Studios. So a couple other things we discovered, again, pointing towards its provenance. Remember how we talked about in our reveal video, this crease right here? Well, I don't know if you can see it. You might not be able to see it, but there's another crease right here that starts here and kind of goes up towards the top trim right there. So again, back on The Wrong Crowd, there's a scene where you see the side of the trailer and you can clearly as day see that other crease right there. So, and also if we look up here, this one's a little harder to see, but remember those 3 bolts we talked about? So if we count over, I think it's the 4th set of rivets over. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know if this is going to come through, but you see there's a defect right here in the metal, right there. You can see that again in the episode. So another thing that we noticed, again, to kind of all this evidence, overwhelming evidence saying this is the trailer. Not that there's really been that many doubters. I mean, this is, you know, we put up a pretty good case, I think. But remember how we talked about the bar that they put along the side for the stuntman to climb up in The Wrong Crowd? Well, we just discovered that they also welded a bar on the top, just a handle, like a little ring, metal ring at the very, very top on the roof right here. And we saw it in a screenshot from The Wrong Crowd again. And when we saw it, we're like, did they actually put something up there? So what did we do? We climbed up on the roof, and sure enough, there's 2 holes where that bar used to be welded. Absolutely amazing. Okay, so a couple of the discoveries we made I want to show you. So let me just back up here. So we are in the back corner of the trailer on the passenger side. So if we go under here, we can see a couple different things. So hopefully they can't, yeah. See right there. See there's a hole right there and a hole right here. And I believe, yeah, there's another one right there and another one back here. So you might be wondering, well, those are just holes. What are they for, right? Well, if you watch the show, you can see there used to be a black box that was mounted right here with a little padlock on it. Now, we don't know what was actually in that box, but we know it was there. We can see it on the show. I think those holes held that box in place. Make perfect sense, right? The other thing we can see is a battery tray, actually a dual battery tray that used to hang right here. And it actually looked very similar to these battery trays. See how there's 2 of them? There's one here and one there. And now I don't think these are original because the original ones had bracing in the corners and it doesn't look like anything's been cut here. But there were battery trays very similar to this that were welded here and hung down. And you can see it in the earlier seasons of the show. There were 2 giant red batteries here. By season 4, they had been replaced with gray batteries. But if we get down and look up in here, see this right here? There's evidence that something has been cut off right in this area. And I guarantee you that's what held the battery trays in, right? Next, if we go back here, do you see, and I'm not gonna climb in here because it's, well, kind of disgusting, but right here, there's a bracket that's welded to one of the cross beams, and right at the bottom, you can see something been like plasma cut off. That is where the original winch was located that controlled the ramp extensions. So the ramp extensions were separate. They were controlled separate from the ramp door itself, and that winch was mounted right there. All right, and this is quite possibly one of the coolest finds. So these three are the original belly boxes, right? We talked about this before. All this stuff was added later. These are the original belly boxes. Now, one thing, if you'll look at these belly boxes, you'll notice this one. See how it has this riveted on piece of aluminum right here? Let's take a closer look. This thing right here. None of the other boxes have that. So why is that there, you might ask? Well, let's open the door and take a look. Right there. So if we look at the other side of the door, we can see that the door was cut incorrectly whenever it was constructed. It was basically cut at an angle right here, which wasn't going to work. So what did they do? Well, they grafted this on a nice straight piece to kind of give it a finished look, okay? Now, believe it or not, we can spot this piece on the semi in the show in the episode Hearts of Stone. Isn't that amazing? It's so amazing how we can see something on the show and come out here and see it and tie it to the actual semi. So, the show ended in 1986, right? We all know that. In 1987, Universal Studios sent this trailer to be auctioned, along with another number of other pieces that the studio had. We don't know exactly what else was auctioned, but this trailer was part of a larger auction. And one of the attendees of that auction was a somewhat famous drag boat racer. Drag boat and dragster, the I'm not too versed in this, but the alcohol funny cars, you know, the real long cars with the larger big rear wheels and the smaller front wheels, you know, stuff like that, I think. And he was looking for something to haul his drag boat and his drag car. And he put in a bid and he happened to win the trailer. So he then took the trailer, and we don't know exactly what he did to it, but we do know it was still painted black while he owned it. The decals on the side had already been removed, so there was no shield, no stripes. But he used it to haul his funny car at the time. And we got this photo in 1988. Well, we didn't get it in 1988, it was taken in 1988. Of this first owner after the studio hauling his car. And you can see the car parked outside of the trailer, right? And the shell, the car body is off of the chassis and it's sitting behind it. We'll take a closer look at what car body his funny car had. Yes, a third gen Trans Am. Coincidence? Irony? Fate? I don't know. How bizarre is that? And you can see he even had a design painted right about where the shield would go on the side of his funny car, his Firebird funny car. So, you know, this trailer held more than one Trans Am, the Knight Rider Trans Ams and then his funny car Trans Am, which is so bizarre. But take a look at some of the other details here. We see the side door open. We see the set of stairs out. These are the exact same stairs we currently still have with the trailer. I don't think that they were part of the trailer when it was on the show. But we can see here that a lot of the modifications currently done to it were not done at that time. However, we do see that it has the posts installed, the support beams installed on the side for an awning, right? And all of those mounting points were still on the trailer we got. In fact, we have the awning as well. And of course, that's all being removed. But we can see as early as 1988, there was an awning installed on this trailer. But probably my favorite thing, and one of the coolest things that 100% ties that trailer in that picture to the trailer I'm in right now, is the fact that, like I said, the door is open. Now take a look at that door. What do you see? All right, you see the wood panels, the support beams, that's all factory door seat. But look at the bottom. You see that sticker that says Ross, right? Nice bright white sticker. Well, before we had this photo, we started tearing down the door, because the door skin on the inside of the trailer, it had a piece of diamond plate on the bottom, it had black carpet on the top, and we wanted to take it off to see what was behind it, right? So we pulled the carpet off, we took the diamond plate off, and we found a plethora of racing stickers. And one of those racing stickers is that Ross sticker from 1988, now yellowed, but still there. How cool is that? So, as we mentioned in our last video, we know that Universal Studios removed the ramp and started using the factory Dorsey roll-up door that came with this trailer in 1978, which was always installed, it was never removed. If you want details on that, check out our last video. Anyways, a couple things to note about the back of the trailer. First of all, we can see that the stainless aftermarket taillight panel that it still has was added to the trailer back in 1988. The taillight should actually be part of the footer panel underneath the ramp, not an additional piece that's tacked on underneath the trailer. So we see it has that. And also take a look at that license plate. That is the exact same license plate the trailer had on the show, which is amazing. But you know, in our research, the tractor also kept its 2J01192 California license plate for subsequent owners until it left the state of California. So I think at the time, and maybe it still is the case, that California, whenever you sell a vehicle, you transfer the plates with it. That would be my guess. So really cool that even after the show ended, the trailer still had its same license plate. And the other thing to note, of course, is at the very top, you can see that trim panel that I was talking about. The trim panel that was on the show was still intact in 1988. So at some point after 1988, that top was radically altered. And we think it was whenever this second ramp was added, the one that's currently on it. Anyways, all right. So now you get a close-up look at this panel in here. All right. So what do we see? We've got 1, 2, 3 marker lights in the center. We have a marker light on either end, right there. Okay, so we were up here analyzing this and analyzing it. These are not the marker lights that were on it when it was on the show. The marker lights on the show were much shorter, rounder, okay? But when we were up here looking at it, we noticed these marker lights down here, those are the correct ones that were in the center whenever it was on the show. There were, like I said, there were no marker lights on the ends whenever it was on the show, just the 3 in the middle. But what they did, I think, whenever they altered all this, they put the two of the 3 original round lights, they just moved them out to the outside edge. So I think that light is an original from the show, and I think that light down there is an original from the show. These 3 are not. However, interestingly enough, these are the correct model for the other marker lights on the trailer, which is kind of cool. All right, so when I was up here, I noticed that. And then I also noticed this. You see this line right here? There's a fairly distinct line that runs all the way across here. And then I realized there's also remnants of welding marks right here. And there's some down here as well. So then I put 6 and 12 together, got 33, and realized the trim panel that we see in the show was actually a piece of L channel. It came down and over like this to box this in the whole way down. And then that light and that light and one more light were mounted out here on this box. So whenever they altered all of this, and I think they altered it whenever this aftermarket ramp was put in. When they altered all of this, that's when they cut out the L channel and redid all the lights. Oh yeah. Hey, guess what we just found? Let me bring you in. So take a look at this. Original black paint underneath this bracket. So remember, the rest of the trailer was all soda blasted, but there are little hints of black here and there, you know, like right here. So what this tells us is that this air conditioner was put on when the trailer was still black, and then they painted it white. Same with the generator, because this was part of where the generator was, had a little bit of black. So how about that? There is original screen used black paint, probably, right there. So just to put it in perspective, this is the ramp door back here, all right? And you can see here the winches that they put in right here, and then these two batteries. This all gets cut out. A couple interesting things. First of all right, so this cutout right here, we think is original from the show. Actually, we're almost positive it's original from the show. So you see how there's this slot cut? This is the header panel right on the outside. So right here is one of the 3 marker lights. That's to put it in perspective. This slot cutout we can actually see on the show, so we kind of know that that's original. And you can see how the ramp door is right there. There was something in here, a metal pin or something, because if you look, there's, let's see if I can get a good picture. There's some holes on the side. So what I think this was a manual lock. So when the door was closed, they would put a pin through here to hold the door shut, because I mean, if you're traveling down the road, you don't want just these 2 cables being responsible for holding the door shut, right? They needed some kind of a physical lock, and that's what this is right here. There was a pin, when the door was closed, it came through here, and then there was a pin that went through here, or something along those lines, to hold the door shut mechanically. But a couple things that I want to point out here. First of all, this is the other vent that has since been closed up. Now, if you remember in a previous video, I showed you the vent we found above the lounge, and I talked about how that vent was the one that Hasselhoff crawled out of in Goliath. I was mistaken. It's actually this vent right here. This is the one he crawled out of. It's about 16 inches square. Wow. It's since been closed up, obviously, riveted shut with metal. So we're gonna have to cut this out and put an appropriate door back in there, but there is your other vent. One other thing of interest, you remember that mysterious rail that we saw on the roof of the lounge? Well, clearly it's not here. However, there is very clear evidence that that rail went this whole way. You see it? See all the paint, how the paint's different right there?
Yes.
That, see, if we look at the colors here, this was painted black. This is the original steel color. So whatever that rail was that we talked about, it was original to the show, and it went at least down to there. Hey guys, might have made an interesting, possibly exciting discovery on the semi. But first, it's not on this side, but I need to give you a little backstory here. So do you remember we've talked about this corner here with the grab bar for the wrong crowd, whatever. So you see how there's this panel, there's this sheet metal bent in an L shape covering the back of the trailer. Now at first we thought this was added later after the show, but we've been able to find screenshots that clearly show that this trim piece has been on the trailer the entire time. All right, so that's not what the exciting part is. Remember I said all of this was soda blasted, so all the original black and gold is gone. Well, take a look at this. If we walk over to the other side here, this trim piece is gone, the one that's on the other side. We know it was there because we can see all of the holes, right? But I was standing back and looking at this, and I started to notice something strange right here, and we'll see if we can capture it with the camera. Do you see these lines right here? Right there, there's distinct lines here. Is it possible that some of the original gold trim is under here. And I'm not talking gold trim from the final paint job or even the paint job in Hearts of Stone. I'm talking about the gold trim from the Pilot, the original Knight Industries black and gold trim. So we're gonna do a little wet sanding here and see if we can find any gold. Take a look at that. There's distinct lines right there. See that? Let's keep going. And take a look at that. Can you see that? There's some gold right there poking through. Right there. There is gold right there. Let's do a little more here. There's more gold right there. Look at that. Right there. There's gold poking through. And these are the stripes. These are the original stripes from the Pilot presentation in 1982, because they're way too high up on the trailer to be anything else. See, there's a thin stripe there, and then looks maybe like a bigger one here. We're gonna have to wet sand this whole panel and see what we can find. Now, is this gold or is this rust? Let's see here. So there's definitely gold around here. That's not rust. Just the little bits of gold. But this right here is what's really interesting. Boy, it's just so tiny, but that's definitely gold paint. Definitely gold paint. Now the question is, can we get a big enough piece to do a color match without sanding away the gold? Oh, it's such a thin layer of gold too, right in there. Let me back down so you can kind of see where we're at here. So you can see we're like halfway down the trailer, which lines up with the original Pilot paint scheme right there. That's what that is right there, clear as day. There's the black stripe. There was gold here and then black here, and then it alternated. If you remember, the original design was black, thin black and gold stripes, and then I believe it was all black down here, and wasn't it gold up there? So we might have to do a bunch of sanding up there to see what we can find. But ooh, this is exciting. So take a look at this. We found gold paint from the original Pilot paint job. Unbelievable. The panel that was here saved all of this. This is all soda blasted. This panel on the very back, there's the ramp, is all original paint. This is the gold paint job from the Pilot. This is the white paint job from the first 12 episodes. This is the black paint job, Hearts of Stone forward. Unbelievable. Let's just see if we can make this just a tiny bit bigger. That's it. We've got gold, which means we can color match. Put it in perspective. We are right there. That's the gold. And if you look at the Pilot paint scheme, It was painted gold up here, and then there were black and gold stripes, and the bottom was black. After 40 years, 40 years, that paint shines through again. Right there. Gold paint job. Unbelievable. It's a metallic. You can see it's a metallic gold. That's our gold color we're going to use for the trailer. Now we're pretty sure still, I'm positive the decals they put on later were not paint. They were vinyl decals. That was a paint job. That's what we're going to match it to. Unbelievable. The trailer still gives up secrets after all these months. All right, so I think that's probably all the further I want to go with this, only because I realize in order to reveal the gold, I'm actually taking away the history of not only the black paint job, the original black paint job, but the original white paint job from the first 12 episodes. So I don't necessarily want to do any more here. This rivet has been soda blasted like most of the other ones, right? You see how there's not much paint on there. But then we come up here. There was a piece here. So this is original black paint. Can you see, maybe you can, maybe you can't, how thick the paint is on these rivets? These rivets in this area is all original paint from the show. This was not soda blasted because there was something covering this, all right? But down here, these have been soda blasted. And maybe you can tell the difference between these two right here. Thick paint, real thin paint. So just to quiet any more talk to sand here that you might find original paint, we will not. None of this is original paint, all right? All soda blasted, all soda blasted, all soda blasted right to this line right here where this panel covered. This and around the side is the only significant original paint left on the trailer, this side and the other side. So I got to thinking, you know, if this panel still has its original paint, this piece of the panel, you know, all along I have been assuming that the decals, the stripes in the shield from later in the show were vinyl. You know, they were vinyl decals, they weren't painted on. But this should tell us conclusively, right? So what I've done is I compared screenshots from the show, matched up where the rivets, and was able to determine where the stripes were, okay? So this is where the upper stripe was, and here's where the lower stripe was for the topaz connection through the rest of the series. And then for the Hearts of Stone, there was a stripe here, a stripe here, and a stripe here. So, logically thinking, I should be able to sand right here. And if I find gold in this area, or in this area, that tells us the decals were not decals, they were painted on, right? Because we know from the pilot presentation, it was only gold up there, and then a few stripes. This should all have been black. All right, so let's see if we find any gold where the stripes used to be. So as you can see, we're finding black, right? I'm gonna sand through a little bit further just in the middle of that to see if there's any gold under it. You know, by counting up the rivets, we know one of the stripes is right here. But I've sanded all the way down. That's bare metal starting to show through right there. There's no gold anywhere here, which confirms my theory that the stripes were decals and not painted on. So we have an interesting selection of layers though. We got the white it currently is, then there's a black, then there's this cream, primer, black, another cream, primer, black, bare metal. Interesting. So we know that the final stripes were decals. Let's see about the Hearts of Stone stripes. Let's just work on maybe this one here and see what we can find. And you can see it's the same situation. There would be gold here by now. Those were decals as well. All right. Now I know I said after I finished that I wasn't going to sand anymore. Now I'm really not going to sand anymore because I don't want to ruin any more of that original paint. But this tells us conclusively the only gold was from the Pilot. The rest were decals. All right, guys, so I'm chilling out under the rear end of the semi-trailer. As you remember, there was a giant storage box back here, and we got most of it cut out. Still gonna cut that piece out, cut some bracing out, things like that. But when I was under here, I noticed something really cool that I wanted to share with you. Two things, really. All right, so the first thing is this. Right here. These are the original tail light openings. So when the trailer was used on the show and when it was new from the factory, the taillights were actually in this footer panel. I'm going to call it a footer panel here. And they were right here. Whenever the trailer was converted to a race trailer at some point in its life, a lot of this factory footer piece was cut out so they could put this angled piece of steel in here to allow a more gradual entry for the race car to get in, so the ramps didn't have to be as steep. And whenever they did that, they removed the taillights, they cut this footer panel, and then they had that taillight panel mounted down here, the one we just removed. So I got back here and there were these brackets welded in over here for support of this piece. All right, so you've seen the review. Let's talk about the next steps on the trailer. Weather dependent, the next thing we want to do is get rid of that window. Rip all of those panels off. It's time. You know, that's the last big, like, black eye the trailer has. So we're gonna get that window ripped out. We're gonna rip out all of the aluminum skin on the outside, which is not original. We've already ordered the rivets, the attachment for the air hammer to pound them in. We've got replacement aluminum sheets on the way. So you can expect to see that pretty soon. Also, we're doing a little bit of work on the tractor, something on the inside. I'm not gonna spoil it now, but it's going to really transform the look of the entire inside of the tractor. So we're working on that as well. So the work really just doesn't end with this trailer. We've also got our fabrication shop building the new footer piece, the taillight panel piece, the header panel, the battery box that goes on the back. They're building that now. It's almost done. So we'll be revealing that to you here really soon. So you got to stick around. I mean, it's getting exciting because now we get to start putting stuff back together. I mean, once this is done, we're talking insulation. We can start putting replacement plywood back up. I mean, it's exciting. You don't want to miss it. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Appreciate it, appreciate your support. We'll talk to you soon.